Hello and welcome to another vlog where you join me on the banks of the legendary Mary and Joe pool over in Germany. I'm here for 2 weeks and typical of me, I've arrived on a public holiday when the lake is very busy. My first 4 days were spent blanking in an area where I didn't really want to be, but we picked things up after the holiday period has passed when I managed to get into my favourite swim known as First Point. Right, this is a swim I'm fishing, and you've seen this one in my vlogs before because this is First Point. It's one of my favourite swims on the lake, and in the past I've bivvied up behind the camera on the top of the bank, but this year they brought a new rule in which means you've got to bivvy up right down by your rods, and it's mostly down to lads using camper vans, which is a bit of a craze in England and also on lakes over here. But there's my setup, there's the Hanukkah mount on top of it just to keep a bit of the sun off. In the process of just redoing me right hand rod, so just have to excuse that at the minute, but that's my setup. A little bit messy as always, that's how I am, that's how I fish. I'm always ready to move, minimal as much as I possibly can at this time of the year. But the big thing is you'll notice I've not got a ground sheet in, and the reason for that is because it's just so hot over here, and using a ground sheet I find at this time of year it makes the bivvy a sweaty environment. It's too warm. We've had temperatures over 30 degrees today, so yeah, all the vents have been open on the shelter. The one at the back, it's closed at the minute because the mosquitoes are coming out now. There's my bivvy anyway, and there's my rods. I've only got one out at the moment, and what you've basically got out here is some decent water, some good depths out here, and some of it's nice and hard. There's a lot of weed out there as well. You can only use 2 rods on the water, and with the temperatures being as warm as they are at the minute, I've favoured going into the deeper water because the fish don't all come into the margins when the temperature goes warm. You think they would do, but on here it definitely seems to be the opposite. You tend to see the smaller fish close in, and in fact I've never seen any of the big fish really close in. I've only ever seen, well, the biggest I saw was a 50 pounder. That is a big fish, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's not, but for this lake it's not one of the main 18 fish. I have seen lots of 20 pounders on this trip, lots of 15 kilo fish close in, but all the big uns and all the captures of the big uns are coming from the deeper water, so that's where I'm fishing. I've got rods in 5 metres of water, so what's that? That's probably about 18 foot, something like that. Right hand rod is slightly deeper, both on really nice hard spots as well. At the back of the weed, we've got some weed out here or a big thick embankment of weed that probably runs for about 20 metres out, and then beyond that it is nice and clear, and that leads really into that really deep bowl that's out in the middle of the lake. And out there is where you do see a lot of fish rolling and jumping. It's the safe area. They don't get caught from there because if you cast out there you're just into the abyss, and it's nice and choddy on the bottom, so it's like a safe area for them because they just seem to congregate mid-water. And yes, people do use zigs on here, but they've never been that effective. Same as surface fishing. One lad on here, Chris Ackermans, he does catch a few fish off the top, but other than that it's mostly bottom bait fishing, sticking a load of buoys out there. So there you go, here's the 2 rods. I'll talk about tactics in due course, but yeah, let's get this other rod cast out and then we're fishing properly. Just having a couple of hours off from sitting behind rods because I found some fish down here in this little bay. Nothing big, but there are 1 or 2 half decent ones amongst them, and they're coming in really close. So I've just got a rod just down there. I'm not going to show you at the minute, I'll show you in a bit. And just in really close, they're really fizzing up off the bottom. I don't know if the fizz is coming off the weed or it's because they're feeding, I can't quite see, but it's pretty exciting stuff because to find fish at the moment in these kind of temperatures in pretty shallow water, some of which are, well, I'm guessing they're probably 20 kilo fish, but the most that I've seen are all sort of 10, 15 kilos, but to be honest with you, I've been here now 4 days, I wouldn't mind just catching a fish, so I'm going to give it a couple of hours down here. All I've done is just dropped a rig really close in on a nice hard patch and just scattered a bit of crumb around it, so hopefully they'll be interested in it. So I'm just going to sit back here and hope something happens. Whew. First one. Awesome. God, that's a good one, that is. That's a nice start. Brilliant. Well done, Crowy. Well done, mate. Well, I can now show you the swim and what I've been doing, because I've just landed one. It's down here. Yeah, basically, got after being to the shops this morning, there was carp circling all the way around here, going in and out the weed down there and under that tree. And yeah, we got one. There he is. And I tell you what, that looks an half decent one compared to what I seen down there, because there was a lot of little ones, a lot of 20 pounders, 10 kilo fish. But that looks like it could be a 20 kilo fish. God, red hot sunshine. Buzzing though. It's just a little swim. Obviously people been down here, beer cans and what have you. Yeah, what have you. There's a bit of rubbish as well, but lovely, really warm day. So I need to get this one sorted out, see what I'm going to do with it. Cool, there you go. That fish from the little stalking bay. 38 pounds, so proper made up. First one of the trip so far. It's only about 9:30 in the morning and saw some fish in this bay. It's already about 28 degrees, so yeah, let's get it back quickly. Brilliant. Oh, bloody hell, it is warm. I know full well I'm going to be watching this wishing I was here, but at this present moment in time I'm wishing I was at home sat in the cool, because this has been brutal. It really has. It's probably about the, how many is it, 9 days on the trot now where it's been 30 plus, and the skies have just got no, there's another mosquito I've just blasted as well, felt it on my leg. The skies have got no cloud in them at all, and every day I've been looking at the weather forecast, it's been saying it's going to get stormy and rainy in the next day or so, and it's progressively been put back and put back and put back, and as I look at my app now, it's not going to rain until the day I leave, so yeah, it's been proper hard, and I've got through, I don't know how many of these things, but thankfully there's a shop down the road, so I've been able to stock up. But my enthusiasm is still there. My enthusiasm is still through the roof, as it always is, and this is the one thing I always say to people about me, is if there was something about my carp fishing that defines me, it's not my interest in rigs or baits, which you probably know about, it's my enthusiasm. I just absolutely love going carp fishing, and even in conditions like this, I just, yeah, it's tough. Fishing's tough as well, you know, I'm not catching a great deal, but I just know that the next bite could be a real big one, and that's something I've always had in me, that enthusiasm. I've always had that desire to want to go fishing, and whether I was at work, in my old jobs, because I've done a few other jobs besides working in the fishing industry, even though I seem to have been around a long while now. I did used to work in a sports centre years ago, and I've also worked on the road gang, and I've also worked on a farm, so I've done loads of different things before I went to university. So you know, that enthusiasm is still there now, and it'll probably be there right the way through to when I pass away one day, and I'll probably pass away in a bivvy as well, probably fishing in conditions like this as well. So yeah, but you know, have I actually got better as a carp angler as I've matured as an angler? That's something that one or two people ask me, and I'd have to say yes, I have. I definitely have, because yes, you're a decent angler when you're younger if you're really into it. It's not difficult to catch carp nowadays because there's loads of lakes around where you can catch them from. and you know, the higher the stocking density, the easier it is to get them. Plus also the information that's out there now, there's loads of info out there telling you how to catch carp, so it's not that difficult compared to what it used to be like. I like to think that I was a pretty decent carp angler when I was in my 20s. I've been doing it then from, well, the age of 10 was when I caught my first carp. That was 1980, so sort of 10, 11 years, 12 years. I was a pretty competent carp angler, and I think in the mid 1990s I was probably, you know, a competent enough angler to go anywhere and catch fish from, really. And you know, the only thing that I've sort of learned, you need to be a little bit more patient, especially if you want to catch bigger carp. You know, back in them days, I can remember going to caching in the late 1990s with Briggsy, and he'd go and plot himself up in a swim, and at the end of the 10 days he'd caught 2 fish and I might have caught 6 fish, but my 6 fish combined might have weighed the weight of one of Briggsy's fish. And I remember him telling me that you need to calm down, you need to stop moving around, you need to plot in a swim and wait for the bigger fish. And that's what I'm doing now, really, is plotting up and waiting for a bigger fish to come along. I could quite easily go down the beach end now and get myself a bite, but I'm not that interested in getting a 20 pounder now. I've got a carp and I'm off the mark. I'm more now interested in getting a bigger fish, although I could do with getting away from these mosquitoes, if I'm honest, because they'd properly do me tits in. But you know, the point I'm getting at is that as you get older as a carp angler, you definitely become more experienced, and it's that experience that helps you make the right decisions. And I've met a lot of carp anglers that are older than me and who've been around carp fishing a lot longer than me as well. They'll all say the same to you, is that carp fishing experience is something that you can't teach somebody, you can't create it instantly. It's something that comes progressively. So as I've matured as a carp angler, I wouldn't say I'm a better caster, I wouldn't say I'm more knowledgeable about rigs and baits, I wouldn't say I'm more knowledgeable about carp either. What I'd say is I'm more knowledgeable about how to understand carp fishing and how to understand how catching carp is different depending on what you want. If you want to get bites, then there's ways of getting bites. If you want to sit there and wait for the bigger fish, then there's ways of doing it. And I've talked about this quite a lot in my vlogs before. I was a decent carp angler when I was younger. I like to think I'm a decent carp angler now as well, but I do think I'm a better carp angler now because of that experience. It is definitely something that makes you put things together a little. It makes you how can I explain it? It makes you assess things differently. It makes you make decisions better as well. If there is anything that I've changed as I've got older, it's probably my understanding of carp fishing etiquette. That is definitely something that's come with me as I've matured, because when I was younger, that dashing about and wanting to get on the fish, I don't think in them days I wouldn't say cared for other carp anglers in the same way that I do now, but I wasn't quite aware of other carp anglers in the same way that I am now. I'm now more conscious of casting into somebody's swim. I'm conscious of upsetting the bloke next door to me. I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm about. You know, if he's a prick, okay, that's different, but you know, most carp anglers aren't. They're just there to catch fish and just enjoy being on the bank the same as I am. And having an understanding of what carp fishing etiquette is about is definitely something that's come to me as I've got older. So, you know, that's something I'll go into more in another vlog at some stage. But the older the guys are on the bank and the more experienced they are, the chances are they'll have a little bit more awareness to other people. Whereas when you're younger, you just want to catch fish, you move about, well, I'm going to go and sit up in a corner without even really thinking about who's fishing in that corner and where they've got the bait. Some of the lads that I've fished with over the years will tell you what I used to be like. I got named Wolfgang by my old mate Bob Davis because of some of the Germans that were on caching at the time who really didn't have any awareness to other anglers. They just put their baits wherever they wanted to, and it was all about catching. And it's fair to say that back in them days I was probably the same. So, you know, nowadays I'm not like it. I'm definitely not like it, and it is something that I think is an important part of carp fishing, which I'll definitely address again at some stage in one of my vlogs. But for now, I'm happy with what I'm doing. It's just a case of sitting here and waiting and hoping that sooner or later one of these bigger fish comes along. There you go. There's about that. Nice one I've just landed. I guess I'd say certainly a mid-40, maybe a little bit bigger. Big old lump, good old scrap as well, so proper buzzing. Well, this one has well and truly been on the bait. 55 pounder, absolutely fantastic. It's crapping out the old bait by the pound at the moment, so absolutely brilliant. Proper made up. There's the other side of it. Absolutely mega fish. Fantastic. They're all absolute peaches in this place, and hard earned as well. Look at the size of that tick that I've just pulled off the dog. That's as big as a bean. You could probably use that as a bait. Look at it. That is a giant. Mateus on the camera at the minute. I just noticed her on her back end. And I pulled 4 off her yesterday. Sorry, 3 off her yesterday. This is the 4th one I've pulled off her. And yeah, you've got to be careful with these things when you're out here because it's very dusty at the minute. Loads of mosquitoes about as well. I had about 40 bites yesterday, so I'm alright though. Bit itchy, but summer carp fishing for you. Oh, girl. The carp in this lake are under constant pressure 365 days of the year. They know what rigs and bait is all about. They've been fished for really hard over the last 30 odd years. So I'm really having to up my game. I'm chopping and changing between bottom baits, pop-ups and snowman presentation. And to date I haven't had a bite on this lake from a pop-up. It's mostly on the bottom baits and the snowman presentation. So it's those that I'm going in with today. On the rig front, I'm using a size 2 snag armor rock hook. I've got a little liner on there. The hook itself is knotless knotted to roughly about 12 inches of braid, so it's nice and supple, the rig that I'm using. I've got one of our XL liners on there. The bait itself is fished quite tight to the shank of the hook. We've got a lead clip presentation, a 4-ounce lead, and then we've got roughly 3 rod lengths of 50-pound shock tight leader, and that's connected to 18-pound camo outline straight through to the reel. So it's pretty tough gear that I'm using, but what we've got in front is a lot of weed. There's a lot of mussels in that weed, lots of sticks, snags, reeds. There's also a lot of sharp objects on the bottom as well because it's a gravel pit, so you need to have tough gear, especially if you hook into one of these big fish and they start pulling you all over the place. Come on. You can see me lead or not now. So it's not far away, but there is a lot of weed down there. And it's in it by the feels of that. We're getting its head up. Loads of weed about. I have lost a few fish down in this area before because of the weed. Where's that line? Oh, would it come off then? Bloody mozzies. A few vortexes. He is nowhere near up in the water though yet. There's a lot of weed down there. God, getting bitten to death. I thought it was a common earlier on, and now I think it's a mirror. Oh. No, I can't see. That's a common. In she goes. That's not too bad at all, that isn't. That'll definitely get the old boy smiling. That's a nice old fish, that is. What a lovely result, just before dark. Oh, look at that one. 56 pounds. That is a tremendous carp. Great fish, great battle from a great lake. Absolutely awesome. Right, there's the other side of it. Oh, what a carp. What a trip as well. And I've still got 3 nights left. Mega. Oh, look at that. That don't get caught very often at all, that fish don't. There's 1 or 2 little marks in there. That's a big old mouth and all. No wonder you use big baits on this lake. Anyway, let him go. There he goes. Oh, beautiful carp. Black as the ace of spades. God. Right, let's get this rod back out before it gets too dark. Mega, what an evening. Recently I've been putting my faith in the bog, but for this lake it definitely seems to be more of an edge with the SLK and the Secret 7. There's an awful lot of both of these baits that's gone in here over the years. We've been making Nermin fishing here, quite a few different DNA guys as well, especially the big ones. They've both been caught on the SLK and they've both got a liking for fish meals. So it's these two that I'm going to be putting my faith in. I've got a mix of different sizes. I've got the 16s, I've got some 18s, some 22s and even some real donkey chokers. Now there is a lake limit of 2 kilos per angler per day, so obviously I've got to abide by those rules, but for the most part it's going to be a case of putting a better bait out there, sitting on it and waiting for them big ones to move in. And when it comes to the hook baits, I'm going to be using either a snowman presentation or a bottom bait straight out of the bag, both in favour of pop-ups because in the past I've not really done too well on the pop-ups. It's mostly on the snowman presentation where I seem to get most of my bites on this lake. I'm not proud of this, but I'm just telling you as it is, as I tend to be. But I've been on the bank now for, well, I've been here for 11 days, 11 nights, and I also did a couple of nights fishing in England before I came here. So I've been away from home for 13 nights. And I'm still wearing the same clothes. Exactly the same clothes. This is the t-shirt that I left home in. It's got a bit of carp slime on it. It's got loads of dust on it and it feels really greasy and smelly. You can actually see that it's changed colour. That's the inside of it. So you can see the difference. That's the sun that's faded it. It'll definitely be going in the bin by the time I finish this session. I've also got the same shorts on and, dare I say it, the same skidders on as well. I am washing them every now and again, but it is so hot that as soon as you've had a wash, you're getting sweaty and stinky again. So I thought, what's the point of having a load of washing from my missus when I get home? Or, you know, I may as well just wear the same things. So it's getting dusty, it's getting smelly, it's getting sweaty as soon as I change something. So I apologise to those of you that are currently eating your breakfast. just wanted to tell you as it is. You know, that's what these vlogs are all about. It's about being live on the bank, telling you about what happens. It's not all, how should we call it, easy carp fishing. A lake that's full of easy carp with a shower block behind the swim. If that's for you, go for it, but it stops being a bit of a challenge, I think, when you're fishing those lakes all the time. You need something a little bit more hardcore, a little bit different. Now this is not hardcore compared to somewhere like the Orient when I fished there, but it's definitely hardcore compared to the commercial day-to-get lakes of England. But anyway, there's a better view for you. Rod's out. Still a little bit of blue sky about. Come on the carp. Well, what do you know? The weathermen have got it right at last. Well, I suppose if you keep predicting things, you're going to get it right eventually, and that's what they've done. It does feel really good now. This is a low pressure front moving in. It's getting dark and cloudy. I don't know how long it's going to stay, but we've got some drizzle in the air now, and it really does feel like big fish weather. It feels absolutely electric. It feels like something is going to happen, and it could be the stuff of dreams on this lake. So there's commons in here to over 80, close to 80. Don't know what it's going to weigh, the big in here, the big black spot at the moment. It could be very, very close to 80. There's a mirror in here that's similar sort of size called Mr. P. There's another mirror as well, which is around similar sort of mid-70s weight. God, one of those would just be the dream fish for me. But it does feel good now. It's starting to feel like there's a storm brewing. Might not be so good with that pylon behind me, but the kind of conditions that I've been waiting for during this trip have finally arrived. So yeah, let's see what happens. Morning, and it's a lovely morning too. It's down there. It's a 76-pound common. That is why I come to Germany. Absolute brutal day yesterday, loads of graft, and I'll be watching this totally forgetting about all the effort I put in yesterday to get this fish. So yeah, another warm day though by the looks of it. I'm just waiting for a couple of lads to come down and do some pictures for me. You ever seen these fishing films is the bloke with the fish saying how amazing he is, but I can honestly say I would not have caught that fish without this bloke.
You're welcome, bro.
You've seen him in videos lots of times. You are the absolute genius on this.
Thanks,
lake.
bro.
And
Thanks.
all of your info has been absolutely just, well, mate, giz it here. Cheers, geez. Thanks for everything.
Good man.
Thanks for everything. Making memories. That's what it's all about. Whenever I come to Germany, I just want to catch one carp to make the trip worthwhile, but to catch the biggest common in the lake is just the stuff of dreams. So very, very happy. Definitely the icing on the cake from this trip. Right, mate. Thanks for that. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Thank you very much.